Hello there. Welcome to today's training on the Fluent platform provided by Walchem. Today, for those who don't know me, I'm Dominic, CEO at Sensys. Sensys provide Walchem all their products as well as Awaki, the full product range, and SensorX and Pixis probes. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to the Fluent platform training. Today we're going to go through the key benefits and how to use the Fluent platform. We'll be going through how to set up your different customers, how to set up your controllers, the processes they will go with, and how to improve alarm notifications, as well as how to set up your customers so they can log in through the Fluent platform and see what they want to see. There'll also be alarm notifications and escalations. So Fluent is a centralized database for all Walchem controllers to report to. You can split that via customers, facilities, processes. They will all report to this dashboard or to the database, and you can view all your controllers from there. It's a step away from the fixed IP. The fixed IP SIM cards, the data can be accessed because it has a fixed IP. That's how you get onto the controller. Because of this, the data can be used. Nobody is hacking the controllers, but they are sending data through the fixed IP. With Fluent, it only needs to send information out. So that opens up the possibility to hardwire this onto a site Ethernet system via their network. You can plug in your controller to that, ask them to set up some ports, which are part of the Fluent protocol, which we can send out what ports they need to do. Sites are more likely to allow these protocols, these ports to be opened because you're only sending data out, unlike the previous where you'd have to have a log into their system. Now you just have ports that allow the controller to log out. This also for the Intuition 9, you can have a Wi-Fi card and you can connect directly onto the Wi-Fi so long as those ports are open. So you can connect via hardwire Ethernet, Wi-Fi, or SIM card. So you can manage all your customers and facilities on one place. So you can have a big supermarket, for example, and then their locations. So you might have Leeds, Portsmouth, etc. And then on that site, you might have a disinfection or a cooling tower or a boiler, all those different processes, and it will log that in one central place. You can then flag priority customers. So if you were looking after you could have just your account, the ones you look after, as a flagged customer, and that would allow you to see them from your dashboard. Then you could go into other customers if you were, say, looking after someone's account. Process monitoring and control. So the real-time data, as you're aware, with the fixed IP SIM card, you can log on directly to that controller and look at the data in real time, change settings and things like that. This, because it's only small bits of data going out regularly to the Fluent platform, it will add on to the data that's stored there. You can turn down the frequency, turn up the frequency, so you could have those data packets going every 10 minutes, for example, if it's on a SIM card and router, or if you were on a Wi-Fi system, you could get that right down to 1 minute. You can obviously access from anywhere because it's a web page. With the fixed IPs again, this could potentially become an issue where some sites, because of their firewalls, did not like you going onto a fixed IP. again, make changes remotely anywhere. It's through the web page rather than a fixed IP. Then you can manage your data and visualization. So all your data comes to one place. You can view all your customers' data, their facilities. Then you can customize your dashboard, so you could have just the customers you want to see there, or just the facilities you want to see there, as well as it would flag any alarms on this dashboard. You can access key parameters at a glance, so you can then drill down and go on to the graphing for each parameter for each process. Then you can have alarming and prioritization. So for each process, alarms, each process, facility, customer, you could have a different set of alarms. So you might have one process that's critical. So you could have a critical alarm on that one. You could have a standard alarm on the other, where it would send to certain people, and then if the alarm was not acknowledged within a set amount of time, then it would escalate that to somebody else. So it could be first it was sent to an engineer. If it's not been acknowledged within 15, 20 minutes, then it might go to somebody else on site that can look at it straight away. This could be, for example, if you had a flow switch, a pH probe, and a zero chlorine probe on site. The flow switch, it's going to shut down at certain times, so that may come down. Then you could put a delay on that, and if it goes over the delay, then it would send out an alarm. But it's not critical, it's just somebody needs to check why it's doing that. Then you could have a pH, if it's out of range, then you could have, it might not be critical to the system running, but it needs to be looked at straight away. That could be a priority alarm. And then you could have a zero chlorine probe, where if it detects any chlorine, which could then damage a component later down the line that needs to be looked at critically, that might not have any delay on it, and then it might escalate within 1 minute if it's not been acknowledged by someone on site or remotely. Then with the graphing, you can save those graphs as a PDF. So you'd get them like that. You can download that, or you can download the data directly from Fluent, and then you're not doing that from a controller, which if you've got low signal, if you've got one of the SIM cards, it may take a while to download that information, whereas this is, as I mentioned, small amounts of data constantly going to the Fluent platform, and then it will be held there for you to access, so there's limited buffering. Team management, you get 3 user profiles. So you get your admin, which admin can do pretty much anything on there. They can create customers, they can create users, they can also obviously look at everything, they can live connect and change settings once they're logged in. Technician, they can look at everything, they can live connect, change settings on there. They can't create customers, but that could be someone who doesn't need to create customers, and they just want to view the parameters and then change settings by logging in. They might want to turn on a relay or calibrate a probe. So then you have a technician, which could be, as I've mentioned, technician, and then a view only. So that could be someone who is on site, who just wants to see the data. They wouldn't be able to live connect, and they would just be able to view the controller remotely. And then custom visibility permissions. So you might have some admin level in your organization, but you might have some that only cover certain customers, or they might cover the north, and you don't want to see the controllers in the south. So you would be able to adjust what people see, because if they don't need to see it, there's no point in someone in Leeds looking at a Portsmouth one, for example. Then you've got alarms and custom notifications. As we mentioned, we have all the alarm notifications can be adjusted from the platform. The customizable escalations. So if you, as mentioned, if you have certain parameters that you want to be critical, standard, or priority. Those unique settings can be on each controller or even each parameter, depending on how you set that up. So as the example I gave with the 0 chlorine, which could then damage a key component later down the line. And then I will get on to showing you the actual demo of the controller. So when you first log in, my login will be very different. As distributors, we see the list of all the unassigned controllers, and then I would assign them to yourselves. Then as soon as I've assigned them, I will no longer be able to see them on my platform. So I've had to create this demonstration platform here, which this is how you would see it. When you first log in, you would get all your alarms, your starred alarms. So they would be on facilities or processes that you've starred. Then you'll get all other alarms. So your first page will show you any alarms, and then you can needs acknowledgement or acknowledge alarms. So once you have your alarm here, if I acknowledge that, it will say what time it was acknowledged and by who acknowledge that, and then that will save that in there. So then if I then go to acknowledged alarms, it will show that acknowledge. Give that a minute for it to buffer. Then you've got your customers. This will only show customers that have been starred for your for the ones you want to look at on your dashboard. Same with facilities. So here and here, you've got our facility. We've got the meeting room and the new warehouse. Might have two processes on one facility. So you might have a Portsmouth depot, and on that depot you might have a veg wash with disinfection, and then you might have a cooling tower. That could be dealt with one controller, and then you can split the processes. So you'd have the graphing nicely showing the disinfection system, but it might be reporting to the same controller, and then your cooling tower showing the graphing for that. So anything in red means there's an alarm on it. So if I go to our meeting room, sorry. So if I go to our meeting room, you can see there's alarms here, and if I click alarms, then it will show you what alarms are currently on there. You've got your two processes there. So here I've got the Fluent demo and the stores. They are different controllers, but as mentioned, you could have them the same. And then if I go into that particular process, got the Fluent demo, and then all the parameters that are on that controller and have been assigned to that process will appear here. All your alarms will appear here, and then you can acknowledge them directly from here. And then you would have all the ones that have been acknowledged here. So this was obviously the ones I acknowledged earlier. You can then view the controller itself, live connect, so it would connect directly to the controller and log in the same way you would with the current fixed IP system, but it would go directly to each controller. You can download the process log. So this will show you any alarm notifications that were sent, who received them, who acknowledged alarms, basically anything that happens between the controller and the Fluent platform. And then here you've got your data log. As I've said, this could be, your data log could monitor every 10 minutes. depending on how often you've set your controller to send to the Fluent platform. So this could be every 10 minutes, every 1 minute. Mainly on Wi-Fi, that would be every 1 minute because there's no data limit on that. Once you're on here, you've got all the current readings. You can click on your current reading, and it will bring up a graph of what that is. This is our demonstration here. So obviously the conductivity has sat at 0, but if I was to get the ORP, I can click in this white circle and it will bring up the graph for your ORP value as well. As you move your cursor along, it will show the reading over time. You can then change the range on here up to 90 days. And you can click as many. So we've got copper on this one. We've got PTSA. And you put them all on the graph. Then you can download and print. So you can either download it or print it, depending on what you want to do, and it will look exactly like that. That will save as a PDF. When you download the data log, that will save as a CSV file. So you can view that by your customers. So that would be all the customers if you click on here, rather than the starred ones, which will appear on the dashboard. Then you can go to your facilities. These are all facilities we have set up on here currently. If I go to the new warehouse one, then this is actually an old 600. Fluent platform works with the Webmasters, 600s, 900s, Intuition 9, and the Intuition 6. I can then click on the process. I can then, if I want to, click on the controller. I can see what version of software is up there on there, so that I can see this is currently up to date at the moment. I can see the firmware and I can see what controller it is. This is a 600 2018 one. If I go back, and then I can launch Live Connect. And then you would get the same screen as you're used to with your fixed IP. So in here, you would put in your username and password. On the new software version, you get, I don't know if you saw that, but you get the forgot password button. This is a new feature. Once you're into your controller, it's with all the new software. Once you're on there, you can put in an email address for that specific controller, and then you click have forgotten password, put in your username, which would be admin, and then press OK, and it will send a temporary password to the email address that you've set up with that controller. This one's on a SIM card in our new warehouse. The signal is not particularly good, so that's why it's taking a little bit of time, which is one of the benefits of using Fluent. You're not waiting for the controller to buffer. You can see all the information that has already been sent, so you can download the data log from there rather than having to download it from here, which may take a fair amount of time. So I'll come back out of that. But this is your standard screen you're used to, where you can change set points on the inputs and outputs. Then to set up customers on here, we can go, I will set that one, I'll reset that one up. So I can add a customer, clicking here. So we might pick big supermarket. I can then add all their information in there, save, close that. To this, I can then add a facility. So might have, let's mention the Portsmouth depot. And put the rest of the information in there. And then I can go I can either create a process at this depot, or I can put in another depot by going back up to customers. I can go to the supermarket, and then I can add a facility. So Leeds. I can then go to my facilities, and you'll see it says Portsmouth and Leeds depot. So if I go to the Portsmouth depot, I can then create a process, select the customer, which would be big supermarket again, add the facility, we'll put this one in the Portsmouth one, and then I can add the process, which for this one I will put disinfection, for example, and that could be a veg wash system. Here we can have set the standard alarms for this. So as mentioned, we've got the initial alarm, which might not have any delay on. Then your escalation, if it's not been acknowledged within an hour, then it will send to the escalation list. So you've got your primary contact who it will send to first, so that might be your engineer, and then it might be an escalation, which might be someone on site. And then you've got repeat escalation. So after 15 minutes, if you've not heard from the person on site, it will send that email again. Then you could have your priority one, so that could be set up so there's again no delay on the initial one, and then priority you might want a 10-minute delay. I want a 10-minute delay, and repeat escalation after 1 minute. Then you might have your critical one, which has no delay on there, and then it will escalate that after 1 minute. I want to repeat that after an hour. Then in here you can put in your email address for the primary group and then the site group. From here, you can either assign a controller to that process or save it, depending on if you've got that controller already set up. So you can set up this prior to getting the controller, and then once the controller's on site, then you can just assign it to that process. I'll assign it directly to the process. So I go to here. I can set alarm notifications. So for that whole system, I might want it as a priority. And then I can go to disinfection and I can apply that to all. So I might have everything applied to disinfection. Then I might think I want to add a new process, which could be cooling tower, and might not be as critical. So we might just set the standard alarms, and then we can save that. And then I can go to, so you might have the pH on the disinfection, and then the conductivity might be on the cooling tower. And then you might want to set the low alarm for your conductivity is no alerts or standard. And then if it goes high, you might want that critical. You can also do that for your low alarm. So you decide what the priority of each parameter. So you can save and close that. Again, you can live connect directly to the controller from there. And then if you go to back to your facilities, you go to the Portsmouth depot, and you've got your two processes on there. Go to the cooling, and you've got your conductivity in there. If you go back to the depot and the disinfection, then you've got all your other parameters in there. And then from there, you can generate the graphs once it's loaded. and add extras on there, and then you can download or print the graphs, or you can go back to disinfection and download the data log for that. It will just download the ones you've assigned to disinfection. Then you can go to your users. So from here you have a list of all your active users. So that could be your customers, people on site, or your engineers. Obviously, you've got your invited users just to keep track. If you've sent an invitation out to your customer to set up, you can say, yes, I've sent you the invitation, but you're waiting on them to confirm that so they can log in. And you can add a new user. So it might be a new user. And you can add that phone number if you want to. And then from here, you can have them so they work at Sensys demo or work at your company, obviously. Then you can give them what sort of access you want. So the global admin, as I mentioned, can do everything. Account admin, they can set up accounts. They just can't change other people within the system, within the organization. Then from here, you can say which ones they want to see. So you could turn off Walchem distribution. You might want to only see the big supermarket one. Then you would save that, and then you can give them more or less visibility from the global login. Then you have the technician, which, as I mentioned, is they won't be able to set up new customers, but they will be able to see everything and log into controllers or view only. They'll only be able to see the data that is on Fluent. They won't be able to see they won't be able to live connect directly to controllers. You can then change the user status to this is a customer of Sensys demo. So this would be one of your customers. You might want them as account admin, and then you can select so the big select customer, big supermarket. They would only be able to see controllers that are assigned to their company. Going forward, obviously they could be anywhere, so you could change it to Spanish. So when they log into Fluent, it would all be in Spanish. And then again, in here, you've got the technicians. So that might be one of their engineers that would be able to log on to the controller directly and change settings on relays and things like that. Or you've got the view only, which would be your customer. You don't want them to log on to the controller and change anything, but they would see all the information and get that as a graph. And then, so I will send that. So that's gone successfully. And then in here, it will just tell you that it's waiting to send, and you can resend that. I'll cancel that invitation for now. Okay, and then you back to the dashboard. As mentioned, you've got these ones on here. The API log, just quickly, I won't go into detail about this. If you want to know more about this, just comment API. It's a way the Fluent platform can push data, or your web server, your web-based platform can pull data directly from Fluent. So you're not pulling from each controller, it's pulling data directly from Fluent into your personal or company-based web server. As I say, I can go into more information about this, but it's very technical, and for most applications, it probably won't be used. And then that's back to the dashboard, all your alarms, customers on there, and that's pretty much Fluent. So you can log in, you can put the controllers hardwired or on Ethernet, or on Wi-Fi. So it just gives it that bit of flexibility, so you don't have to use the SIM card on router. You can start to go through customers' networks, which give a great cost saving to not having to have the router and SIM card, and it also is far more secure because you're not having that fixed IP out there, and you're not having to log into a customer's network to be able to see the controller. Everything is sent out via that. So yes. So any questions, if you want to put them in the chat, we can go from there. And yeah, thank you very much for your time. Hopefully it's been helpful, the Fluent training. And if you need any more information, obviously you can contact anyone at Sensys and we can go from there. Thank you.